Good evening, everyone. Hopefully, everyone is having a better Friday and getting ready for the weekend. Let me know if you can see my screen. If you cannot, just raise your hand. We'll make sure that you can get all the audibles and the screen. This is Chetan Mogal. I'm the CEO of BIM Engineering US. I'm hosting this webcast on behalf of NIBT, National Institute of Building Technology. The webcast is going to be a very basic level understanding of BIM. It is really going to be understanding BIM and its application in modern construction. Very basics. I'm not sure we have all the attendees that I have from different backgrounds, I guess. So I'll keep it simple. We'll be doing a lot more webcasts in the future. So please stay tuned, please stay signed up. That's what I would say. This is just a kickoff into basic level of understanding of BIM. So with that, let's understand the philosophy and the vision of NIBT. From what I understand, the vision of NIBT is pretty simple. They do understand that the construction, as we know, how has been performing in the past, is changing very drastically due to new technologies, the processes, tools, people, education systems that are turning around them. So the point is, with the vision is really to create more skilled professionals than skilled labor. I think that's pretty much summarizes their vision. They want to create professionals who are well-rounded with management, negotiations, tools, techniques of conducting personal skills, people skills, management skills, and all those spectrums, and kind of merge them with the tools of the modern construction industry. So it could be any technologies around BIM, construction management, field management. So it's just not building information modeling. The idea is basically to create a strong skill base for modern construction use, right? So we need to have a skill force that is ready for the modern construction use. Quick background about me: I'm basically a CEO of BIM Engineering US. It's a company that is based in Washington DC, in metro area, and we provide cutting-edge building information modeling solutions and consulting services to supplement traditional project delivery methods with technology-driven processes in construction industry. I am an architect by profession. I have a master's degree. I went to Virginia Tech for my master's in construction management. I'm doing my business master's or MBA in Harvard. Right now, it's currently ongoing. I sit on the panelist on second Smart Cities, and then will be the panelist and the speaker for the third expo as well. So if you are going to be in Delhi somewhere on May, please come and join us. I'll be talking more about what I want to do, what we want to see, how the education and enforcement, how the training of the modern skill set has to happen when it comes to the construction industry. So I'll be talking more about it. So if you're interested, please come and see me. I'll be there for 3 days. You can reach me anytime. My email address is on my, the GoToWebinar link, so you can feel free to give me an email if you have any further questions. Moving on to the agenda for today's meeting. Before we get into that, I just want to make sure everyone can hear me. If you can hear me, please raise your hand. And if you cannot, don't raise your hand. If you don't know how to raise your hand, I'm creating a quick poll. And that will help make sure that before we get into the basics of BIM, you guys can hear me. So you can just quickly run the poll through. Good. I think we're getting 100% yes. So that's fantastic. All right. So it looks like everyone can hear me, and the people who cannot hear me, there are a few people. Since a lot of people can hear me, looks like it might be an audio system failure at your side. If that is the case, I would highly recommend you guys to to watch our videos. We'll be posting the audio content online as well. So you're not going to miss anything if you cannot hear me now. We'll be giving you the access to the videos and the presentation PowerPoints that we have. So you won't miss anything. Close the survey. I think we know what it is. Can everyone see my screen? That will be the next survey I'm running. So let me know if you can see my screen. Good. So we're getting a 100% poll result there. We have not seen everyone voted so far. Some people cannot see my screen. Again, not a problem. It's probably a technical glitch. Since some of you can see it, it tells me it's a technical glitch at your end. GoToWebinar has a launch button. Sometimes I think so. If you click on the launch button, we'll start the kick off the meeting for you, and you should be able to see the screen. If not, again, the videos and the audios and the presentation will be available for you over the email on our website. So you can always come back and get it from us. If you're able to get the technical things resolved, we'll get started. So that closes the poll. Let's go into the agenda for the BIM right now. Today, what we're going to talk about is a really basic level of what is BIM, right? And recognizing how we have moved from the 2D CAD and 3D CAD, and what kind of differences does it bring to the table, and what are the new opportunities, I would like to call it, brings to the table. Describing how we got here, and how we are going forward. And then kind of understanding the key benefits of BIM. So that's really the quick summary of today's meeting. We'll quickly get into the first topic, which is what is BIM, right? So what is BIM is been very, very widely researched. It's probably most searched word in Google when it comes to construction industry specifically, because it's really interesting. People who not know, because especially in America and Western countries, most of the projects nowadays use BIM. If not, I would say the penetration is pretty much around 70 to 80% on different levels. And we'll understand what those levels are: 3D, 4D, 5D, XD. You've probably seen those terms float around, but we don't want to get into too much details about those terms. What we want to focus is really this piece here, if you can see my screen, right? If you want to understand BIM, it's really to understand World Wide Web. We all know, browsers, www, whatever it is, NIBT Education, whatever it is, or .com, .net, whatever the series are. We're kind of used to this portal, like about. So it's really a portal. BIM is really a portal of wide ranges of things. We have heard about developers, PHPs, .NET, HTML. Those are like development things. Those are the tools. And then there are people who know how to use the tools. And then there are people who are project managers who manage how the tools are done. There are research people who come up with different technologies and sit on those tools. The people who understand how to best use the tools. People who know just how to manage the tools. And I keep saying the word people, right? I mean, the point is that's basically the second piece of the puzzle. What it is, it's really it's tools are the 10%. If you really think about the World Wide Web, we talk about user experience, user engagement on the website. Some websites fail, some websites do really well. There's so many websites, some are on the top, some on the bottom. So if everyone is using the same tool, why is the difference? The difference is because there's 90% of the sociology, the process plus the management, the people portion of it, how things are managed, how people are, how the technology is deployed, what is the process, what is the workflow, how people are engaged, what is the strategy behind engagement. See, I'm not even talking about the softwares or the tools that are used in this process. So anything, if you can take out of this, one thing is for sure, we have to understand that BIM is not a software. Okay, it is not a software. Okay, it is not a software. It is literally 10% software. So if you tell someone that, hey, I know XYZ software and I know BIM, that is not the truth. Okay? It is really understanding BIM is really how to, it's a wide spectrum of things that we try to focus on. I'll tell you personally, I've been practicing this technology for over 15 years now, and last 5 to 7 years, I have not even opened the software. Some of the softwares, some of the softwares are Revit, there is ArchiCAD, there is Pentium. I don't even open the softwares. Some softwares I do open, which are more of management driven, but I can conduct meetings, we can do a lot of things without even opening the software. But I still use BIM technologies because of a lot of other things from a consulting standpoint. So as you grow up, you realize you tend to use less softwares and more of the other two skills, which is the process and the management. The software becomes very limited. Okay. So moving on to our second subject is trying to understand basic of BIM now, right? So what is BIM? BIM is, a lot of people have heard about DWG CAD files, and most of the common product that is used is AutoCAD. Now, if you really think about AutoCAD, it's a vector-based system, or most of the drafting tools are vector-based systems, meaning or non-parametric, we call it. What it means really is when you have to draw a door, you have to really use a line, and the graphical representation of those lines depict a door. It is not a door. It is just a combination of different lines, points, and shapes that look like doors, right? But when you come to BIM, you actually have a parametric model, which is a virtual working replication of a door itself. So when you say you want to add a door, you don't make lines, you actually plug in a door in a model. Right? So if you have a small doors in the building or windows in the building, they are the virtual representations of the reality. Okay, so that's what refers to as a 3D geometric tangible assets, because those are not lines, they are literally assets, and how whatever assets you are going to use in a building or a structure or whatever product you use, and it could even mean earthwork, it could mean moving dirt around, and an earthwork or dirt could be an asset that you are trying to manage. So it could be anything, and what I mean by anything is anything that you can touch, has a geometry, shape, size, anything you can maybe see, mostly you can feel. If it has a geometry, it is part of the BIM. Okay, now let's talk about the data, the intangible assets. The intangible assets is the benefit of the building information model. Okay, so what it means is you have building information model. Okay, or some people like to call it building information management sometimes. Information is really the key driving factor behind all the modern technologies. We're talking about data mining. We have heard about IoTs, Internet of Things. Everything is a process of data, processing the data that you're gathering. So data management is becoming a key driver to any modern business dynamics going forward. Any new modern businesses you see are a lot dependent on this data management, okay, and how they manage the data. So BIM is really, that's what BIM is getting so much traction, is because construction industries typically, a seventh or sometimes quarter of economy of any country. It doesn't matter developing or developed. It's a huge portion because buildings have to be built in the countries. You cannot outsource them. They need to be built with people. It's very difficult, to build buildings. Even in modern, there are a lot of concepts of 3D printing and other concepts out there. But the human factor is extremely important no matter where you go. So the data management is important, which the data management is really, if you think about paint, right? And if it's small things like paint, how much LED content does it have? What is the texture? What manufacturer it is? What is the warranty? How much? When does it expire? What is the cost of it? Where to get the product? All these data points are part of a BIM model. So if you really click on a wall, okay, the difference between, now we're getting a difference between 2D and the BIM portion of it, right? If you really click on a wall, it's going to show you, what size the wall is, what material it has, the quantities of the materials, okay, the colors, the paint, the texture, what is the specifications, meaning what is the composition, what is the LED content, what is the VOC content, you name it. It is going to throw all the data. It's going to throw the manufacturers, the current market rates for the whatever you want to be part of it. When was it last painted? How many coats it needs to be painted? What kind of shades does it have? I can keep on going. All that information just for the paint itself can be put into that. Now, imagine every single thing. The door hinges, the door knob, the door lock, the window curtain, every single asset has embedded information in it. So when you look at BIM, it's really that geometry that you can see, which is a virtual representation of the reality loaded with all that data. Everything is part of it. Even how much electricity is going through the wires, what is the capacity of a panel, how to change the panels, running analysis of energy analysis, how much electrical load things are going across, how much heating load is air conditioning system handling based on the models, the geometric positioning of the project itself in terms of sun path and running analysis around it, structural analysis based on the real GIS information of the reality of the field. So not just some mathematical calculations, but real simulations that help us, engineers, architects, and all of us to manage the product, which is really the construction product, more efficiently, more productively. So what ends up happening is we have a visualization tool and a realistic data tool. So instead of trying to create mathematical problems, we now work with more user-friendly data points that we can manage, we can play with, and it will give you different analysis and reports based on what you manage. And at the end, you might have an efficient product in a virtual environment. And now the fact that the virtual is equals reality, all you have to do is build it the way it is supposed to be done, right? This is how you build it in a virtual environment. That is what is happening here. And that's why in the last decade, not more than that, I mean, literally from 2006, I've seen more traction. I'm talking mainstream market. I'm pretty sure the technology was there for a while. But the mainstream market, at least in the US and America, you'll see that just in 28 and 29, how the market penetration of BIM has went from 20% to 70% in just a decade, to the point where all the countries, Western countries, US, Australia, sometimes Western and Eastern countries have made BIM as a mandatory product in all the government projects. So it is really important because of the data points. And now the fact that IoTs are coming into play, this is becoming much more important, because you're going to talk to the IoTs, Internet of Things, are talking to your iPhones and your smartphones, for lack of better words, and your electric outlet. It's talking to each other, right? So all those data points are getting collected extensively. Moving on to the extensions of BIM, I don't want to get into this too much. So now that we understand what BIM is, it's really, you can get so many things. You can get your plans and doors and windows and things like that. But now if you really think about the 2D side of it or the AutoCAD side of it, you now think about when you click on a door, you're not clicking on a door, you might be clicking on a line or a block, and it gives you nothing. It just probably gives you a layer and something that manually enter thing. So this, you can see the difference of what you're getting. Now, where we are going, we'll talk about in a minute. So let's talk about the extensions of BIM, right? You hear this, so what is 2D, what is 3D, 4D, and XD? Sometimes it's called 6D, but a lot of people call it XD these days, and I'll explain what it means. So 2D is not BIM, okay? There is nothing like 2D in BIM, because the construction needs a geometry, and geometry cannot be a plane. It needs to have the Z dimension, XYZ dimension, for lack of better words, okay? The 3D portion is really the most common use of it, the 3D representation. Okay, so that is the most. If you have to say, if BIM is used, 70 to 80% of people are probably just using the 3D portion. They're not even getting into 4D and 5D because I think they're still developing technologies. So if you say 90% is really the BIM 3D penetration, I would say 25%, and probably 15 to 20% is 5D presentation, and barely 5% of it is a market capture of XD. So if a BIM user group, if you look at a BIM user group, even in US, from my experience, 90% are focusing on this 3D representation of, which includes both. I mean, we're not missing the data. It's 3D geometry plus the data, no matter what, because they're looking for clash detection, coordination between different trades, mechanical systems, plumbing systems, electrical, whatever, major things. So that's 3D geometry. 4D is really where you start getting the construction phase, where you want to run down the simulation, connect your schedule with the 3D, and try to understand what material is supposed to come first, what you're building first. And we have fantastic videos on I think nibd.education that the simulations are shown, and we'll be doing more of these in the future. We'll be taking each of these assets and management of assets in different Ds, and looking into it more specifically as we continue to. We'll look at the data points, how the data has to be managed in the future. We're not necessarily going to focus on the software. I think that there are a lot of tools out there that obviously you can learn, but we're going to focus on the key thing, the key ingredient, which is the management and the process, what it means, and how to do it the best to get the best results. So your website is a top website and not one of the lower websites, because as we know, tools are irrelevant. So as we get into the comparison, here's a quick analysis of the comparison. Primarily 2D dumb graphics. I think this slide is pretty explanatory of understanding what the difference between 2D and 3D is. I don't think we need to get into much specifics. If you look at this slide, I think you'll be more comfortable understanding what it is. You can get into the evolution. I think we're going to touch base on very briefly evolution, 2D drawings, in the coordination process, pre-BIM, current situation, and the future. Long and short, basically to summarize this slide, is really the 2D is getting away. You like it or not, 2D is going away. It's going to be 3D, and the data management is going to be how the modern construction is going to be done. Okay, you like it or not, that's what the wave is for the future. The point is why, we talk about overlaying of the drawings. It's really, trying to, as the systems get complicated, as more realistic simulations are done, whatever you can fit in on a piece of land, let's say you can put X and Y plus Y, call it whatever, call it the real estate, floor space, and the cost, or whatever these X and Y could be. Now what's going to happen is the piece of land, you can actually do 2 times X plus Y, right? It's the same piece of the land. The reason being that is because you're much more efficient. You know the sizing of the wall. You're not guessing it. You're not going from the standards. You're going from the simulations and saying, this is the size of the wall, this is the material available, these are the manufacturers you want to use, and what do we get? Here's what we get. Okay, so let's make it more efficient. How can we get thinner BIMs? Okay, here's the workload, the reality of it. Thinner BIMs, more floor space, more larger columns, bigger floor plans. So you can see how the same cost, right? If you're going to put a cost to dollar value or a rupee value on a construction of projects, that will not change. Equals, or as I shouldn't say not equals the dollar value spent, but you're going to get 2 times more X plus Y. That's how things are happening today. So BIM is not a cost. It's really what you used to do. It's going to be the same equal cost spent on a construction project, but the benefits are going to be, if not twice, more than twice. I mean, I'm just underestimating how much benefit you can get out of these processes. And again, what the benefits is not necessarily dollars, it's the performance, the efficiency, the life cycle, better products, better managed, more safe. So many parameters that are going to be better in each every direction. And that's what basically is happening in a current situation, right? That's what we see these days, where people are moving from BIM. That's what they are seeing. The future is amazing. The future is going to be full of drones and point clouds and robotics and simulations and 3D printing of these models, which are going to be virtually done. They might not even get built in the construction industry. They might be built in the manufacturing plants, because it's much more safer. It has more control on quality. It is controlled environments, so the employees and staff are working in a controlled environment. From a physical standpoint, they have more benefits, things along those lines. So that's where things will start moving, and they're already there. I mean, even in Europe now, we're printing small houses are getting printed or used in total robotic stations to fabricate walls and things along those lines. It's very common. So that brings us to our last slide, essentially, that I wanted to talk about. It's really use cases of BIM, and you can see the amount of pieces or amount of information or uses that BIM can use. I mean, 2D really limits yourself. Like if you really talk about 2D, that's where it limits yourself. I mean, it's very difficult. When you talk about 2D, you have to make a 2D for this, you have to make a 2D for this, you have to make it, and you cannot even do this. Construction logistic is really maybe a 2D if you really use it. There's barely any information here. Don't know what is going on here. Renovation is, hey, I don't know what kind of information you get. You get a 2D drawing for somebody, which might not be good, might not be available sometimes. There is no programming. There is no conceptual designing in 3D and running analysis in 2D. So you can see how many things are missing in 2D. It's just nothing is there. Plus, if you really think about it, it's all duplication of data. Like every time you want to do something, it's all duplication. Versus now, if you look at BIM, what essentially happens is you have a model in the center. That's what really it's evolving. You have a model in the center. All the data points are extracted the way you want it. Okay, however you want to, it's the same document, and however, whatever data you need, you could use it from it. If you're doing a simulation, you don't need to know the XYZ of a door necessarily. So you're going to just pull the data from simulation standpoint. If you're doing fabrication, you don't need to know what or fabrication, you don't need to know what the energy load is. You're just fabricating. At that point, the XYZs and the details are very important. So you pull the geometry. Point is, it's going to be a central hub versus an isolated hub. And that's how the BIM is going to go. And this analysis and things are going to be very predominant in the construction industry. So here's a quick summary, and I want to end with this slide. So marketing models, cost estimation, are some of the things that people don't understand. BIM tend to get into these concepts and cost estimation. But really, costing extraction from 3D model is like literally, if you have the model done, you don't need quantity takeouts. You can click 5 buttons and you can get exact quantity takeouts of the building. So that's the beauty of it. Now, versus 2D, you have to draw the 2D models. Everything is done. Now someone has to really take the 2D models and create a quantity takeouts. It doesn't happen anymore. Everything that you do, because you are real representation parametric models, you click a button, you're going to get exact quantities. Okay. So thank you for coming to this webcast. I know this is a quick webcast and very brief overview of BIM. We'll be getting into more specifics after some time, but we will be running a couple of series that are basic level of BIMs. We'll slowly start getting into details. If you are interested in any specific subject, it doesn't have to be BIM, it could be drones, how drones mapping is used. If it's about project management, how better scheduling is to be happen, negotiations of contracts, what are the tools and techniques that are used in a digital age for negotiations, please let me know, or anyone from organization in IBT know. I would be more than happy to conduct, or NIBT might pull someone else to create that presentation. But those things are very important, friends. I think as we see the next decade or two, you will see a drastic change in construction, especially in Indian environment. So if you have any questions, you can always reach me. Thank you for joining the webcast. It was a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon.